Hey, one thing I think most of us have in common is that we like to shoot our guns. I shoot almost daily on my property here. But one thing I think a lot of us don't like to do is we don't like to clean our guns afterwards. And I've always been someone who said, clean your gun every time you use it. You should always clean your gun after every use. Now, some people love to make excuses for why they don't do this. They're like, oh, it's just a tool, or, oh, sharpshooters allow the stuff to build up in their barrel till they get proper harmonics. Well, you know what? You're not a sharpshooter, so what they do doesn't matter. They're not counting on that gun to save their life. They're counting on that gun to try to make as tiny a hole as they can make at, 50 yards. You're doing something different. If you're shooting competition, then fine. Let your barrels build up a little bit. But if you're just shooting your gun, especially a gun you carry or a gun you use to defend your home, clean it after every use. I've always felt that people who tell you not to clean it after every use are just people that are basically telling you, I was never in the military, I was never in law enforcement, I never worked in the gun industry, I never had a father who properly taught me how to care for guns, or a grandfather who properly taught me how to care for guns, because you should always clean your guns. The thing is, you don't have to clean them all the same, though. To properly clean a gun after you shoot it shouldn't take more than 4 or 5 minutes. Doesn't really take very long at all. Now, I know in the past I've shown you how to really clean your gun. Like, take a cylinder that's stained and just clean it to where it looks like it's brand new without really damaging the gun, especially if they're stainless steel guns. But that's not necessary every time you go shooting. Now, sometimes I will do that, but other times I don't have to. Like, if it's my carry gun, I don't have to get it spotless. If you look here at one of my guns I've been shooting a lot lately, my Chiappa 40 DS, we took this out and got it really dirty the other day. And as you can see, I took it in that night after we shot it and I cleaned it. The front of the cylinder is filthy. It's got a lot of debris on it, a lot of powder and carbon residue on it, but I sprayed it down, brushed it off, and wiped it down, and now, well, it still looks pretty stained, but it's clean. I got everything off the surface. This is just staining. This is where the metal itself has been stained, the finish has been stained with the carbon, the gunpowder, etc. And that doesn't have to come off, especially not on a gun you clean all the time because you shoot it all the time. If I'm going to clean this gun monthly, weekly, etc., doesn't matter. All I have to do is get off all the loose stuff. Now, if I'm shooting a gun like, say, my 460 here, that's a different story. This one, I strip it down to the bones basically every time I shoot it because I only shoot it like once a year, if that often. And I don't want to put it back in the safe with anything on it that could cause pitting, rust, anything. So I clean it down good. I make sure it's spotless when I put it away because it might sit in the safe for a year without even being looked at again. But with my carry gun, it's a different story. With my 629 here, I'm going to clean it every other day because I shoot it every other day. At least once a week I'm going to clean it. So I just have to get it clean enough. I don't have to get every bit of staining off, just have to get the loose material. Because that loose material, gummy crap, that's what traps materials in it that actually causes damage to the surface, like scratching and pitting and rust, etc. So just get all that off. Get that off. The staining doesn't have to come off. The carbon staining doesn't have to come off. In fact, in some places, a little carbon buildup can be good as long as you're cleaning it regularly and maintaining it, like around the forcing cone or that little flame channel on the Chiappa, because in those areas, having a little bit of that carbon on the surface helps prevent wear. So it can actually be good. You don't need to strip that away. You just need to properly maintain it and keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't like build up to the point where it's causing damage to the gun. Other stuff is sticking in it, staying in it, etc. In fact, the only part of the gun that actually needs to be cleaned spotless is, in my opinion, the bore, the barrel. When you're cleaning the barrel, make sure you scrub that out good. Make sure you swab it out good so that it's clean and dry, that when you look down it, you don't see anything other than rifling. There's no lead deposits. There's no carbon buildup. It is clean, but the rest of the gun doesn't have to be that clean. So even though this gun right here doesn't look spotless, this is a properly cleaned and maintained firearm. It doesn't look spotless to the naked eye, but if you run your fingers over it, you're not going to feel any rough stuff. You're not going to feel any loose materials. If you wipe a cloth over it, nothing's going to come off on the cloth. And if that happens, your gun is good to go. So there you have it. Every time you shoot your guns, clean them. Don't use excuses like it's just a tool. Because if you've ever met anyone who actually counts on their tools to make their living, their life depends on their tools, they treat their tools like gold. My grandfather was a master mechanic. He spent as much time cleaning his tools and putting them away after he used them as he did using them. And if we touched them, we were in trouble because he knew what his tools were worth and how much he valued them. So give your guns the same treatment. value them, treat them properly. Now, like I said, you don't have to clean them spotless unless you're going to put them away for a long time and you're not going to be looking at them. If you're going to do that, make sure they're as clean as possible. But if you're going to be using them all the time, you're going to be cleaning them regularly, and you're going to be maintaining them, and you're going to be observing them, then just get them clean. You don't have to get them spotless. Your gun can still look a little dirty, and like I said, be a proper, functioning firearm that you can count on when you need it.